morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Society of Albany. I'm Eileen, I'm your ministerial intern. And I would like to tell you this morning what I've learned about theology from potlucks. Now, maybe you're under the impression that ministers are supposed to learn about theology from like seminaries and dusty old books, but allow me to clear up that misconception. I've learned pretty much everything I need to know about what I believe from potluck dinners. So when we lived in Rochester, we were part of a potluck community. It was a group of 5 households. All of us at one time or another had lived together in intentional community, and we kept that connection alive through regular potluck dinners. So about once a week or so, somebody would send out the call by group text, of course, to say a very informal, y'all come over. And then we'd all come. Sometimes it was a couple days ahead of time. Mostly it was the very day we wanted to have the potluck dinner. And we were totally uncoordinated about who would bring what. But here's the thing. We always had enough. And I was sort of inclined to worry, especially if my house was the location of the dinner, that we might end up with like all drinks or 14 salads, a tragedy. But that never happened. We always had enough. And really, I had to learn to have faith in the potluck. To have faith that we would all dig deep into our freezers or our cupboards and produce something lovely and nourishing for the people we loved. That I could do that the people I loved would do that too. And somehow, every time we sat down for a meal, there at the table, there was miraculously, wondrously, always enough. Enough food, enough drink, enough care, enough love. And I think community works that way if we let it. When we have faith that together we can bring enough to the table, we almost always prove ourselves right. So today marks the beginning of our annual stewardship drive, a time when we ask one another to dig deep into our personal resources and bring whatever we can to the common table. And I have faith that in this community, we will bring enough.
My name's Chuck Manning, and I'm co-chair of the Stewardship Committee, and my role today is to introduce the remainder of the service. We'll be talking about why it's critical for everyone to do your part to keep our beacon bright, which is our theme for this year. Doing your part means making a financial commitment, a pledge, so that Albany UU will continue to be a beacon. Jim Hutchins, Annika Pfluger, and Eileen Casey Campbell will be talking about 3 new initiatives planned for next year if we all do our part. Then Patty Jo, our co-chair, will offer her perspective on stewardship. So we'll start with Jim.
Good morning. My name is Jim Hutchins, and I have the pleasure of being the chair of the Religious Education Council. I wanted to speak this morning in support of a new item being considered for the upcoming congregational budget, a paid part-time high school youth group advisor. Albany UU has a long tradition of supporting the RE program, both financially and with volunteer hours. Please raise your hand if you have ever volunteered as a teacher, guide, or mentor of the RE program. Now, as you look around the room and up in the balcony, keep in mind that this doesn't include all the people who aren't here because they're out teaching. The Albany UU has always supported the RE program, not only because it's part of our mission, but also because of the awareness that a strong and active RE program drives attendance and engagement both now and in the future. The RE program was instrumental for many of us becoming a part of this congregation. Many of us were either raised as UUs and attended a RE program, or we were drawn to the congregation as adults because of the RE program. So let's try this again now. Please raise your hand if the RE program was instrumental to you becoming a part of this congregation. So for several years, our high school youth group has struggled to maintain engagement and consistent attendance. For example, there are currently no 11th or 12th graders in the senior high school youth group. Molly Daniels, who has worked with the current youth group, previously served as a paid part-time youth advisor at the First UU Society in Middleburg, Massachusetts, and I spoke with her about this. Based on her experiences both here and there, she believes that her current youth, quote, wants to have fun and wants to make a difference, but are still trying to figure out how to do this together and how to find a balance with their busy lives. A dedicated paid youth advisor could help provide more structure and mentor the youth so that they can learn how to lead the youth group themselves with support. Molly is not alone in her thinking. In discussions with both current and previous youth group advisors, youth, and their families, the lack of a consistent, dedicated person to oversee the youth program and help develop its focus and mission is felt to be a significant problem. As the Albany UU works to deal with the larger demographic and societal forces that challenge our future sustainability as a congregation, the REC feels strongly that this additional commitment to the youth program and overall RE program is both financially prudent as well as being a necessary response to a changing society. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Annika Pfluger. I'm the co-chair of the inclusivity team along with Patty Jo. She's co-chair with me. I'm going to speak to you today a little bit about what we're doing. We're a small but very dedicated group who are working really hard to bring inclusivity to Albany UU. You might have noticed that we've done inserts in the programs once a month over the past year and a half. We've had some classes. We've had some donations which have allowed us to put up some posters and that in frames along the hallway and kind of bringing our message to everyone. Those were all given by donations. Currently, we're not working with a budget, and we would love to be able to do more for all of us next year. In particular, we're thinking about expanding our library of African American authors and other authors of colors, possibly doing a book group surrounding those authors, hiring some speakers to come and speak to the congregation. Also some professional development for members of our team as well as other congregation members to attend various seminars around the state and around the country. So, we'd love to be able to get a budget, and we're really happy that you've included us in the stewardship campaign for this year. If you'd like to join us, we meet the second Sunday of the month at 11:45 down in room B8, and we're always looking for new members, and we'd love to have some great ideas on how we can bring more inclusivity to Albany UU. Thank you.
I've been with this congregation for 6 months now. My internship is set as a 10-month agreement, and I sometimes joke around that I can get away with things that other staff might not be able to because I came in pre-fired. In 10 months, I'll be gone. Honestly, though, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I think that model might be serving all of you, too. With an intern, you get a year of one extra full-time staff person, and a staff person that comes with the kind of novel outsider insight that someone rooted deeply in the congregation just doesn't have. And you get to let go of them after a year. There's no hand-wringing over finding just the right fit for a staff person who might spend a decade here. It's just the honeymoon part of the minister thing, and then it's over. We both get the gift of looking at one another with fresh, loving eyes, and the freedom to tell the truths we see in the other, knowing that in just a few months we'll go our separate ways. Funding for an intern as a regular part of this congregation's life is written into the budget for next year with the hope that we can generate the pledges to make that a reality. And as much as I do believe that the kind of relationship a congregation has with an intern is a unique blessing, there's a bigger, better reason to contribute to this. This community, your community, is healthy and vibrant, whether you know it or not. I don't say that lightly. I have spent all of my career until pursuing ministry consulting congregations on growth and outreach. And so many religious communities function using what we might call the field of dreams model of church. If you build it, they will come. So you just build a glorious cathedral, or more likely your ancestors built it, and then people will come to fill it up. You don't really have to do much of anything. Liberal religion is reeling because that model isn't working anymore. For so many churches I have worked with, the trappings of faith, the stained glass and the organs, the parking lots and the furnaces, and even the funds that they steward, have them trapped. The care of these things become the full function of a community. They are a heavy weight, preventing communities from moving into the most vulnerable spaces in our world. Conversations like, how do we keep the roof from leaking, or how do we handle the management of our investments, take the place of, how do we handle poverty? How do we handle racism? How do we handle our hearts breaking at the injustice of this world? I see you in the way only an outsider who is pre-fired can, and I see that you are asking those deeper questions of yourselves. You are pointing your energy and time in the direction of the world, not just at your own navels. This right here, is the kind of congregation that should be teaching the next generation of leaders for Unitarian Universalism. You have formed and transformed me to look at the world with a lens of justice building, of peace seeking, of community making. You are making me a minister. Not just any minister, but I hope the kind of minister this world needs. The UU movement needs you to do that for others. I hope you will.
I think we can all agree there's a lot riding on a stewardship campaign. What you may not know is that there's also a lot riding on the no-frills, condensed design of this year's campaign. There's a story behind the new design, one that starts with a basic question. What about serving on the stewardship team, and as the chair in particular, makes people want to run in the other direction? My involvement started at an executive committee meeting in which we were discussing the possibility of actually paying someone to be the chair, since repeated efforts were unsuccessful in finding someone to relieve Chuck from the role. I offered to meet with Chuck to discuss it further, and we did talk about it. We would need to know what we wanted the campaign to look like in order to make a pitch, cost it out. In the past, campaigns have included dinners, one-on-one canvas calls with everyone in the congregation, stewardship discussions with small groups of pledgers, and other ideas implemented over the years. A lot of work. But if we're having trouble filling roles on the stewardship team, these elements make that task that much more difficult. So Chuck and I mused, wouldn't it be great if we could skip all that and ask folks to just do the right thing? Do what needs to be done, no fanfare, a 1-month campaign. So we took up the challenge to make the stewardship process less daunting less labor intensive and time consuming, and more attractive as a way of service to the congregation. With an eye towards succession planning, we streamlined the approach, compartmentalizing tasks so that the primary role of being on a team is not attending meetings, but engaging in specific tasks and adopting a model of leadership using co-chairs with a 2-year term of service, staggering terms to ensure continuity of experience. You'll see me again in this role next year. But we can't control for everything. We still need you to succeed, not only with the campaign, but with this new design. Specifically, we need you to turn your pledge in by April 1st. I was more than a little shocked to learn that many months would go by after the conclusion of a stewardship campaign, and still not all pledges would be returned. Aside from the very real problem this poses for finalizing a budget, this represents an enormous drag on the time and goodwill of stewardship volunteers, loose ends, follow-up calls, etc. So we need you to participate in this course correction, or this essential element of our congregational life will become harder still. We need to meet the goal of having our pledges in by April 1st. So we ask that you do, please, because all our future volunteers are watching.
So I'd like to thank Jim, Anika, Eileen, and Patty Jo for giving reasons why you should do your part and pledge generously this year and early. You don't have to pledge often and early. You only have to pledge once and early. So I just want to give you, the board has set an ambitious goal of a 10% increase in pledges to support the new programs you just heard about. We want to keep our beacon bright. And I have a few simple directions for pledging. Number 1, pick up your pledge packet today at the back of the community hall. I have my volunteers out there, I appreciate it. It's all organized and they're ready to go. Make sure you read the materials. In the packets, you'll see a letter which says, do your part to keep our beacon bright. On the back of the letter, you'll see all of the great things we're already doing. You'll see a pledge form, which looks something like this. On the back of the pledge form will be a giving guide, which gives you some suggestions on appropriate levels of giving. Then make your pledge after you consider it and return the form. And then the big deal, well, it's not the big deal, but the fun this year is we have come up with an idea to get as an incentive to get your form in by April 1st. And what it is, you'll also find in your pledge packet is a little yellow raffle ticket that looks like this. And what you do is you put your name on that. If you get your pledge form in by April 1st, it goes into the box for a raffle, and what you can win in the raffle is up to 3 prizes. The first prize is $100 worth of UU bucks. Now, UU bucks are not like Bitcoins. You cannot send them or spend them anywhere you want. UU bucks can only be used for UU activities. For example, the auction, Silver Bay, and the wine tasting, which many of us enjoyed last night. Many different activities. Any activity that is going on here, you could use your UU bucks for. So first prize is 100 UU bucks. There are 2 second prizes of $50 worth of UU bucks. So make sure you get your pledges in before April 1st and enter in the raffle. Finally, on a personal note, I'd like to say that this community has been a safe home for Barb and me for over 40 years, and we will continue to do our part to support it, and we hope that you will too. Thank you.
I think it's notable that the campaign ends April 1st. I hope that we will not be foolish and not return our forms before that. The potluck only works if everybody comes. And there is an abundance when we join together in supporting the beautiful community that exists in this congregation. Every time I walk into this space, I have this feeling of amazement that we were able to create this together. And each year we recreate this community through the fund drive. I'm not an Alan Chartock. I aspire to his fundraising capabilities. But I know this community is as committed as that community is. And I encourage your generosity. And a beautiful song to energize that commitment is The Fire of Commitment. And we'll make poor Rick here play this difficult piece. Look at him, he's just great. All right, it's number 1028.